I spent 18 years raising my son alone after his father died. I sold my car to help him buy his first house. When I visited, my daughter-in-law tossed my shoes outside and said, "We're not a homeless shelter." My son just looked away. I slept at a bus stop that night. 3 weeks later, I came back with a box in my hands and a letter that would. Hi. My name is Maylene. I'm 57 and I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I've never posted anything like this before. But something happened last month that changed me. I haven't told anyone the full story yet. I've been holding it in, but I can't anymore. I raised my son Aaron alone since he was 6 months old. His father, Darnell, died in a car accident on the I-75 on his way home from the night shift. It was raining, and someone ran a red light. Darnell didn't stand a chance. I was 24 at the time. I had no college degree, no real savings, and no one I could depend on. But I had Aaron. I made it my mission to give him everything I could. I worked at a motel first, housekeeping, then picked up a second job cleaning offices at night. Sometimes I'd come home at 2 a.m. just to be up at 6 a.m. to feed him and walk him to daycare. I barely slept for years. I skipped meals so he'd have enough. When I got hand-me-down clothes, I always gave him the best ones. If I bought a coat for him, I wore layers instead of buying one for myself. Aaron was a quiet kid. Sweet. Polite. He didn't ask for much, and maybe that's why I gave so much. Every birthday I tried to make special, even if it meant a used toy or a cake from a box. He never complained. I loved him with everything I had. I never dated again after Darnell. It wasn't about some vow. I just didn't have time. And maybe, deep down, I didn't want to. My husband was gone, and raising Aaron became my life. He grew up smart. Got into Western Kentucky University. I cried when he left. I was proud. So proud. I helped with everything, packing, tuition, sending care packages, even when I had to dip into rent money. After he graduated, he got a job in Nashville. Marketing. Good company. I helped him with the first month's rent. I took a bus down just to help him move in. That's when he met Karina. At first, she seemed okay. Pretty. Educated. Very polished. Maybe too polished. She came from money. Her parents owned some kind of consulting firm. I only met them twice. They barely spoke to me, like I was the help. But Aaron loved her, so I said nothing. They got married the next year. I helped with the rehearsal dinner. I baked all the desserts myself, carrot cake, lemon bars, brownies, cookies. I stood on my feet for 2 days straight. No one thanked me. But I told myself, it's not about me. When they bought their house last year, Aaron called asking for help. "We're short," he said. "It's just $4,500. We're so close, Ma." I didn't have it in my account. But I had my old Corolla. I'd had that car for over a decade. Still ran. Took me everywhere I needed. I sold it to a mechanic for cash and wired Aaron the money. He said, "Thanks, Ma. You're the best." I started walking to work again. Took the bus in the rain. No complaints. He was my only child. A month ago, I told Aaron I wanted to visit. Just for the weekend. I called him. He picked up on the third try and said, yeah, sure. Just for a couple days, though. We've been real busy." That should have been my first red flag. I packed a bag with my best clothes. Nothing fancy. Just clean and neat. I also brought some baked goods. I still make lemon squares the way his grandma taught me. I took the Greyhound to Nashville. Took me about 4 hours, with the stop. When I got there, I stood outside their house and just looked at it. 2 stories. Stone trim. Fresh white paint. A porch swing. It looked like something from a catalog. I rang the bell. Karina opened the door. She looked surprised. "Oh. You're here." "Hi, honey," I said, smiling. "I brought some treats." She didn't even move to take the container. Just looked over her shoulder. Aaron came around the corner with his phone in hand. "Ma, you didn't call." "I did. Last week." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Right." Karina pointed down. "Shoes off. We just got the rugs cleaned." I slipped off my shoes, even though my socks were worn and had a hole in the toe. I walked in. It smelled like lavender and candles. There were photos everywhere, of their vacations, their dog, even her friends. I didn't see a single picture of me. Not one. "I'll put these in the kitchen," I said, lifting the Tupperware. That's when she said it. "We're not a homeless shelter, Maylene." I stopped mid-step. I turned and looked at her. "Excuse me? You showed up with bags. Are you planning to stay here?" I thought, just the weekend. That's what Aaron said. "We have routines," she snapped. "We didn't plan for house guests. Next time, ask." Aaron didn't say a word. Just looked down at his phone. My hands were shaking. I said nothing during dinner. They ordered takeout, Thai. No one asked if I liked Thai. I just picked at the rice. That night, I tried to sleep on the couch, but I heard them arguing behind their bedroom door. "She can't just show up like this," Karina whispered loudly. "She's crossing boundaries. She's my mom. Then tell her to go stay in a motel." At 1 a.m. I quietly got up. Packed my bag. Wrote a note that just said, "I'll call you soon." I walked 2 miles to the nearest gas station. The bench outside the bus stop was wet, but I sat on it anyway. I pulled my bag close and cried until the sun came up. He didn't call the next day. Or the next. I waited a week. Then 2. Then 3. That's when I remembered the box in my closet. One I hadn't touched in years. Inside was paperwork Darnell had kept. His father owned 12 acres of timberland in Tennessee, nothing fancy, but valuable. I met with a lawyer. Had everything updated. Changed my will. I made sure none of it would go to Aaron. Not a single acre. Not a dime. Then I wrote a letter. I told the truth in it. About everything. I took the letter and the new deed papers and put them in a box. Then I got on a bus back to Nashville. I waited in their driveway until they pulled in. Karina was driving. She saw me inside like I was trash on her lawn. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Aaron got out slowly. "Ma," I handed him the box. "What's this?" "Open it after I leave. And don't call me again." Then I turned around and walked away. When I got home to Lexington, I didn't turn my phone on for 2 days. I needed quiet. I needed to breathe. But part of me still hoped he'd call. Even just to say, "Why, or can we talk?" He didn't. 3 days passed. Then 5. On the 6th day, I got a call, not from Aaron, but from his wife. Karina. I let it go to voicemail. She called again 5 minutes later. Then again. The 4th time, I picked up. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she barked. "What kind of stunt are you trying to pull? You gave Aaron a panic attack." I didn't say anything. She went on. "You come here with some mystery box like you're in a movie. You think it's cute? Dramatic? You made my husband cry, Maylene." "He's a grown man," I said. "He can read a letter. You poisoned him against me." "I didn't have to," I said. "You did that all on your own." She went silent for a second. Then she said something that snapped something in me. You're lucky we even let you in our house. You're nothing but a washed-up maid." Then she hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I just sat down and felt the last bit of regret leave me. The next morning, I woke up to 13 missed calls from Aaron. The voicemail started polite. "Ma, I got the letter. Can we talk?" Then they turned angry. "I don't understand why you're doing this. You raised me better than this." By the last one, he sounded broken. "You're really cutting me out of your life for one bad weekend? After everything? One bad weekend." I didn't answer. Then, a week later, something happened I didn't expect. A man named David Martinez knocked on my door. He was my neighbor's cousin, a real estate broker. My lawyer had reached out to him about valuing the land. He was in his late 40s, wore scuffed boots, and had sawdust on his jeans. The real kind of working man. He shook my hand and said, "I saw the title. That land could fetch close to $200K, maybe more. Big demand for that area right now." My knees nearly gave out. He offered to help me list it. No pressure. No rush. I told him I wanted it all handled in trust. Quietly. Nothing to Aaron. Not even when it's sold. He nodded. Understood. 2 weeks later, Aaron showed up at my front door. He looked thinner. Paler. Like he hadn't slept. I opened the screen door but didn't invite him in. "Ma," he said. "Please." I stepped out onto the porch. "You didn't call for weeks," I said. "I was busy. Things have been tense with Karina." "Tense?" I laughed once. "That's what you call throwing your mother's shoes outside?" He looked down. "I didn't know she did that until after. But you knew I left in the middle of the night. And you never asked why." He swallowed hard. I didn't know what to say. "You say, 'Ma, I'm sorry.' You say, 'Ma, are you okay?' You don't look away while your wife treats me like garbage." He sat on the porch step. "You cut me out of your will." I didn't answer. "Why would you do that? You're my mother. I was your mother when it was hard. Now that it's easy, you let someone else decide how much of me is allowed in your life." "She's not like that all the time, I don't care," I said. "This isn't about her. This is about you." He ran his hands through his hair. "I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. I thought you'd always be there. And you thought wrong." We sat in silence. He looked at the ground. I looked at the sky. I couldn't believe this was the same boy I once stayed up with all night during his fevers. The same boy I carried across town on my back when he was 5 and had a sprained ankle. "Ma," he said finally. "Can we fix this?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. "I don't know," I said. "But I know one thing, nothing's getting fixed until you figure out who you are without her voice in your ear." I went back inside. I left him sitting there. I didn't cry. The day after Aaron came by, I got a call from my lawyer. He said the land had multiple offers already. A private lumber company offered $210,000, cash. No inspection. No delay. I told him to move forward. Fast. I didn't tell Aaron. That same week, my neighbor Gloria came by while I was watering the plants. She said she saw something online and thought I should know. I don't have social media, but Gloria does. She showed me a post on Karina's Instagram. It was a photo of her in a fancy restaurant, holding a wine glass, smiling. The caption read, "Celebrating family wins. Good things come to those who know how to wait." Underneath, a comment from one of her friends said, "Did he get the land after all?" And she replied, "Let's just say the old woman finally got some perspective." My blood ran cold. I knew exactly what she was doing. Aaron must have told her about the visit. Maybe she thought she could pressure me through him. Maybe she believed he was getting back into my good graces. Whatever it was, she was too confident. She thought she already won. I made another call to my lawyer. I told him I wanted a clause added, ironclad. That Aaron or anyone connected to him would never see a dime. Not from the land. Not from my estate. Not even by accident. He said, I already figured you might want that. Smart man. 2 days later, Aaron showed up again. This time, he didn't come alone. He brought her. Karina stood behind him, sunglasses on, arms crossed like she was being forced to stand trial. Aaron looked nervous. Hi, Maylene, she said flatly. I didn't answer. I looked at Aaron. She wanted to come and clear the air, he said. I stayed quiet. Karina shifted. Look, maybe I said some things that came out wrong. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm very protective of our space. I nodded once. And I'm protective of my dignity. She didn't like that. Aaron stepped in. Ma, I told her about the land. I told her I didn't want anything from you if it meant losing you. That stung. Because I wanted to believe it. I really did. But then Karina opened her mouth again. We're willing to compromise. Maybe you keep the land, but just let Aaron manage it. Like a joint thing. I almost laughed. Aaron looked embarrassed. That's not what I said. You didn't correct her either, I replied. Karina stepped forward. We don't need the money. It's just about respect. No, I said. This is about control. And you're not getting any from me. I turned to Aaron. You knew what was in that letter. And yet you still brought her here. I wanted you two to talk. No. You wanted her to convince me. I looked at them both. You two made it real clear who I am in your lives. Now you're shocked there's a price. Karina's mask slipped. Just for a second. You're not being fair. I stepped forward. Fair? You tossed my shoes into the yard like I was garbage. You told my son I wasn't welcome in his own home. And now that there's something you want, you show up acting sweet. She opened her mouth again, but I held up my hand. This conversation is over. Aaron said, Ma, please, I don't want an apology anymore. I want distance. I turned and went inside. Shut the door. Locked it. From the window, I watched them argue on my porch before walking away. The next day, I transferred ownership of the land into a trust. Beneficiary, myself until death. Then it would go to a nonprofit that supports single mothers in Kentucky. I wrote Aaron a letter. Not to hurt him, but to end things clean. No bitterness. No drama. I told him I would always love the boy I raised. But the man he became, he was a stranger. He never wrote back. But Karina did. An envelope showed up 2 weeks later. Inside was a single photo, me, holding baby Aaron, smiling. On the back, in her handwriting, it said, "Too bad you forgot who you raised." She thought that would shake me. But it only proved I was right. 3 months passed. I didn't hear from Aaron again. No texts. No calls. Not even for my birthday. I kept living my quiet life in Lexington. I still worked part-time cleaning houses, though I didn't need to anymore. The land had sold. After taxes and fees, I had $192,000 sitting untouched in the trust. I didn't touch a penny of it. Instead, I started volunteering. There's a center downtown that helps single mothers, teaches them budgeting, helps with childcare, job placement, sometimes even legal help. First, I just cleaned the place. Then they asked if I wanted to help run workshops. 1 night a week turned into 2. Then 4. Those women became my people. Some of them were 19, some were 39. All of them had been through the kind of hell I knew too well. And for the first time in years, I started to feel needed again. But the story wasn't over yet. About 5 months after the last time I saw Aaron, I got a call from a number in Nashville. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was Karina's mother. She sounded shaken. I don't know if you've heard, but things have gone very badly for Aaron. If there's any way you can call him, I didn't call. The next week, Gloria, my neighbor, knocked on my door again, her eyes wide. Maylene, have you seen this? She showed me a screenshot. It was from a local Nashville news website. Rising marketing director at Givens Creative Group fired amid internal ethics probe. That was Aaron's company. I read every word. Turns out, Aaron had been using client data for a side business he started with one of his old college buddies. He'd gotten sloppy. Emails linked to personal accounts. Misused funds. When the company caught on, they launched a full audit. He didn't just lose his job, he was being sued for breach of contract and theft of intellectual property. It was all public. Karina deleted her Instagram the next day. Gloria whispered, "Is it bad that I'm happy about this?" I said nothing. But I felt something I hadn't let myself feel for a long time. Peace. 2 weeks later, Aaron showed up on my doorstep again. He looked like hell. Thin. Pale. Eyes red. His suit wrinkled, tie loose. No Karina this time. I didn't open the screen door. I just stood on the porch. I lost everything, he said. I nodded. She left. Took the dog. My name's in the paper. Again, I nodded. He looked at me with the eyes of a boy again. Not a man. Not the man who stood by while his wife threw me out. The boy who used to hold my hand in grocery stores. The boy I raised. I was wrong, he said. His voice cracked. I was so wrong. I didn't speak. I treated you like trash, he said, almost whispering. I don't even know why. I think I wanted to prove something, that I wasn't poor anymore. That I didn't need help. I let him talk. I needed to hear it. She used to talk down about you. About how you smelled like bleach. About your hands. I started thinking like her. But now she's gone. And I don't have a job. And I don't have anyone else. He started crying. Not fake tears. Not guilt tears. Broken tears. I don't have a mom anymore either. That one hit. I opened the door slowly. Told him to sit down on the porch bench. I went inside and brought out a glass of water and a sandwich. No speech. No comfort. Just a small act of decency. He ate in silence. When he was done, he said, "Can I stay here for a while?" I looked him right in the eye. No, he blinked. But, you had your home. You chose who belonged in it. Now I'm choosing who belongs in mine. He lowered his head. I'm not turning you away, I said. I'm showing you what it feels like. He wiped his face. I stood up. I'll pay for 1 week in a motel. After that, you figure it out. Like I did. He nodded. Thank you. I handed him an envelope with $300 inside. No hugs. No promises. Just closure. He walked away slowly, shoulders heavy. That was the last time I saw him in person. A year later, I got a letter. It was from Aaron. He'd found work again, nothing big, just warehouse shift work. He was living in a small studio. He was in therapy. Alone. No Karina. No dog. No fancy house. He wrote, I now understand what love looks like when it's not convenient. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see it. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask to come back. At the bottom, he wrote P.S. I started volunteering at a shelter near my apartment. There's a boy there. Looks just like I did at 10. I bring him PB&J on Sundays. I think he likes me. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Didn't cry. Didn't smile either. I don't know if we'll ever be close again. But I do know this. He finally knows what I was worth. And that's revenge enough for me.